Speaker of the House of Representatives, the third person in line to the presidency, is now canceling votes on legislative matters in the House of Representatives, sending congressmen and women home because they don't want any votes on the Epstein files. They want to block votes on the Epstein files in an effort to, quote, serve the American people by shutting down the Democratic efforts to demand more votes on releasing the Epstein files, because they're done being lectured on transparency. So in other words, because they're getting lectured on transparency, they're going to be less transparent, and they're just going to go take their ball and go home. Maxwell in the Epstein case is now being asked to meet with the Department of Justice, Attorney General Todd Blanche. This is coming at the same time as Democrats are actually looking at subpoenaing her, which is huge because a few weeks ago, maybe within the last 10-ish days here, we talked about a rumor that Maxwell would be willing to testify. It's likely she's going to want some form of a reduced sentence in response to testifying or meeting or revealing information. And a lot of people were wondering, well, how would it be possible for her to testify? And my answer was she would simply get subpoenaed. Now, I thought she would end up getting subpoenaed by Democrats, but she actually got subpoenaed via a bill introduced by a Republican of Tennessee who has been pushing the Trump administration to release more of the files. Mind you, Tom Massey has also been pushing to release the Epstein files. Both of them very, very aggressive at getting these files released. And now the House basically can't even work anymore. In fact, Republicans had planned to schedule votes this week on an immigration measure, a permitting bill, and a rollback of the Biden-era regulations, so multiple different bills. But a key panel that would enable those bills to go from committee, basically, out to the floor has been paralyzed. So these are usually committees that are made up of a mix of Democrats and Republicans. And if you've got Republicans on it who are like, no, we want the Epstein files released, you just can't get these bills to move to the floor. So now there's talk that Speaker Johnson is basically going to get nothing done over the next 6 weeks, and they're going to end up going on, vacation basically back to their home districts, and they'll leave before getting any more work done this summer because they don't want Democrats to force a vote on a measure calling for more disclosure material to be released regarding Epstein. So you got three things going on. You got the House locked up, calling and demanding for more of a release of the Epstein files. You've got now Republicans in the House calling to subpoena Maxwell to get her to testify. It's unclear whether that would be a public or a closed door session. My ideal scenario would be a public open door testimony session. That way the public can evaluate what you believe is credible of her testimony or not. Remember, she's in prison for being an Epstein co-conspirator. She's in prison. She got a 20-year sentence for basically arranging underage girls to give Jeffrey Epstein massages, which then ended up turning into, well, more than that. Obviously, Donald Trump has been implicated, many times in interviews or even just recordings of him making comments about younger girls, or basically, because he owned the beauty pageants, being able to see certain things like underage naked girls. And so there have been some sus things in terms of commentary, which has raised the question, especially since it's occurred during and with Epstein, that, there's a lot more to the story than we're hearing here. Now, of course, the Department of Justice is trying to get ahead of this. And the way I think they're trying to get ahead of this is, I'm sure by no means making Maxwell die suddenly, but she could always sign up for life insurance, by the way. If you know her, make sure to reach out to her and let her know, hey, could you, sign up for life insurance in as little as 5 minutes by going to mettkevin.com/life. It's a paid promotion, but, you could sign up in as little as 5 minutes, which you might only get 5 minutes on the phone, so may as well make good use of the time. But anyway, Pam Bondi released a statement from Todd Blanche, just basically copy and pasting it, saying the Justice Department, we're going to go look at what files are available, and we've done a thorough review of the files the FBI is maintaining in the case, and we found no evidence. To this, people in the comments are like, hey, it's kind of critical wording that they're saying the FBI doesn't have any evidence, because we've already been hearing through reporting that the FBI has been instructed to go through and label and separate any single Epstein file that has Trump's name on it. So then it's kind of a way of saying, like, maybe they got rid of the Trump-labeled stuff and the rest doesn't have any Trump-related stuff because you already sifted through it all. But in my opinion, the DOJ is trying to get ahead of the congressional testimony, because if the Attorney General can end up meeting with Maxwell before she testifies, they might end up trying to cut a deal for silence where they say, hey, we'll give you a reduced sentence not to go testify in front of Congress. Like, we have the power to give you a reduced sentence. Don't go testify in front of Congress. Just have a meeting with us, and we'll give you a reduced sentence, and then we'll just tell the world that you didn't have anything to say. So everybody seems to be trying to get their hands on Maxwell right now, which puts her in a very interesting position because it does give her some leverage. But it would seem like the best case for the people would be Congress pushing for not only the files releases, which they are, but also actually getting some form of public testimony inside of Congress. That would be very interesting to me. So if you look at some of the other comments here, translation, oh yeah, look at that. That's funny. They're going to cut a deal with Maxwell to keep quiet about certain names. Yes, that's funny. I didn't even see that. But I mean, many people can think of the same thing. So this is in alignment with what I think. So today's statement from Pam Bondi seems like a massive cope, says Laura Loomer. Why wasn't this interview with Maxwell done on day one? Well, because now you have pressure from Congress, right? So that pressure is coming out from Congress. I guess what I want to know is whether the DOJ is basically saying they have never met Maxwell to ask her or interview her about whether she has information. Shouldn't they have already done this? Maybe there's a mix-up in comms. Okay, why couldn't Merrick Garland have done this in the 4 years? Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people thought at that point it was case closed and these things would never see the light of day again. Of course, this is then leading to Donald Trump suggesting that Obama committed treason and crimes that basically set up the Russia hoaxes and some of the other, basically issues that came up with Donald Trump during his campaigns and investigations, leading the Babylon Bee to now say, Obama argues he can't be charged with treason or arrested since he wasn't born in America. After all, he was born in Hawaii. That's sort of his joke anyway. So kind of interesting. If you look at Trump's Truth Social, you've actually seen him post memes of Obama getting arrested. So he's getting a little aggressive in sort of the meme war. A lot of people worry that it's because he's trying to escape attention on the Epstein files. Like, here's literally a beat up Ford truck getting chased by Donald Trump and JD Vance in cop cars. And Trump Jr. is showing Obama trying to get away in this police pursuit. So there's no shortage of memes on Truth Social right now about arrest Obama, which again is really it's turned into this sort of people say distraction, anything to get attention off of these Maxwell files. Speaker Mike Johnson, a new update just now out. Speaker Mike Johnson says, canceled votes for Thursday and sent the House home early before a planned 5-week recess. So whatever votes they were planning on doing Thursday now just minutes ago canceled, telling reporters that he was doing so in order to serve the American people by shutting down the Democratic efforts to demand more votes on releasing Jeffrey Epstein files. We're done being lectured on transparency. He said the Rules Committee became ground for them to do that. We're not going to play political games. The last votes are now being scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. Wow. So the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the third person in line to the presidency, is now canceling votes on legislative matters in the House of Representatives, sending congressmen and women home because they don't want any votes on the Epstein files. They want to block votes on the Epstein files in an effort to, quote, serve the American people by shutting down the Democratic efforts to demand more votes on releasing the Epstein files. Because they're done being lectured on transparency. So in other words, because they're getting lectured on transparency, they're going to be less transparent, and they're just going to go take their ball and go home.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.